Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video, I want to share with you the analysis that I've done and share with you why I believe the NASDAQ, the tech sector, could be due for a little bit of a pullback, maybe 1 to 2%. I'm thinking about 2.5%, and the reason why I have such strict numbers is because I'm using some technicals, I'm looking at some numbers, and I want to share that with you today. Overall, I just want to share with you analysis. I'm not here to put it in your face and prove to you that I am right. I want to share analysis, and I think that is such a thing that people just mislook. They don't pay attention to. They think that people are just trying to shove information and trying to boast that they are right, when at the end of the day, what you're supposed to be doing is sharing analyses, getting opinions from other people, and taking them into your own consideration. So I want to share with you my analysis. I want to share with you some technical factors that I'm looking at, and to show you why I think we need to take one step back to go 2 steps forward on the tech sector right now. If you know who I am, if you are familiar with my trading style, you know that I am definitely a bullish person, in the longer term, but I'm definitely not scared to sort of pay attention to what is in front of me and to take, analysis and technicals and accept that we may need to take a little bit of a step back. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy some of the analysis that I have. At the end of the video, I'm also going to share with you 3 stocks that I believe will be most susceptible to any pullback on the NASDAQ. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell notification so that you guys know every single time that I post. All right, guys, so the analysis I have for you today will start here on the weekly chart on the NASDAQ. This means that every candle you are looking at here on your screen is a week of price action. We're going to go through a few reasons on the weekly, and then we're going to go to the daily chart. And at the end of everything I show you, that will be, the overall summary of what I have for you. Each point that I make here is not enough by itself to prove why we may need a pullback. When they all come together, when you look at all the things after watching this video, maybe you will understand my analysis. So, if you click off the video after 1 or 2 things, it may not make sense. So I recommend you guys stick around and at least until the end of me showing you the NASDAQ here. So here's the weekly chart. The 20 SMA is that, that line that I like to watch. The 20 SMA is where the market has pulled back to, not only on the weekly chart, but also on the daily chart. And every single time it makes a pullback to there, it has a very nice bounce. But what I am noticing now is how much divergence we are starting to see above that 20 SMA. So right now, the NASDAQ is about 10% above the 20 SMA from the top here. So if you take it from the top, it's about 8%. So I take that back. It's just about 8% above the 20 SMA. Now, the last time the amount we were above the 20 SMA when we started to pull back was back here in February. This divergence was just about 10%. So at this point right here, we were about 10% above the 20 SMA. At this point, we were about 8% above the 20 SMA. And on this one, we were just about 7% above the 20 SMA. So at this point, if you just look at history, in the last 3 times we sort of went above the 20 SMA on the weekly chart, we are just about at that point where the market starts to want to pull back. This one, if we look at this sort of extension over the 20 SMA, that was about 15%. So that one went a little bit further. That was also after the virus, and that was that big push that we had back in 2020. So 15% here, we have 10% here, we have 7% on this extension over the 20 SMA, and right now we are about 8% over the 20 SMA on the weekly chart. Now that alone does not prove why we may need a pullback. Of course, we could go another 2-3%, after I make this video, and that would be totally normal. As you guys know, this one up 10%. So we definitely still could potentially have a few percentage points over where we are now. But I want to make you aware that right now on the weekly chart, we are about 8% above the 20 SMA, which is around the area that the market starts to weaken and starts to want to pull back to find that support once again. Now, the last thing here on the weekly chart that I will show you is the time in between the bounces on the 20. So if we take this back to October right here, and we pull this to this date here, this is about 123 days on the NASDAQ. So from this point here, if you guys are looking at this point here to this point here, This is about 123 days of price action, and this is from, this is from the start of the 20-day until the next touch of the 20-day 20 SMA. Now, if we look at the last one, this one we're on right now, at this point right now, this is about 108 days. So maybe, another week or two, and that would sort of equal that same period since the last 20 SMA touch here on the weekly chart. Now, of course, those two things alone are not enough to sort of, anticipate and try to make a trade off of this information, but it is something to at least take into consideration. We are 8% extended over the 20 SMA in the daily, and we are just about the same time period since the last touch of the 20 SMA. So hopefully you guys, just starting here on the weekly, just giving you a very broad look at this, hopefully you're starting to see what I'm looking at, right? You can definitely see the divergence, the extension over the 20, and you could definitely see how, a pullback to that 20 SMA could set us up for another nice bounce, right? That's the, that's the beginning analysis here to show you guys, to sort of warm you up to what I'm looking at here on the NASDAQ. So that's the weekly chart. Now let's go ahead and jump into the daily chart. So here's the daily chart on the NASDAQ, guys. And the first thing that I do want to show you is this trend line. Let me take this back until the last 2 years. And I want to show you this trend line here on the NASDAQ. And I want to show you how we're starting to reject this trend line. So if I draw this trend line from the tops right here, we are touching this trend line right now. So I'm going to sort of scale this for you guys to see this a little better. So if you guys look at the NASDAQ, the upside of this trend, you have 1, you have 2, and right now you have 3. So on this daily chart, you guys can see 1, 2, and 3 touches of this upward trend, the upside of this trend line, which is definitely something that I am keeping an eye out for. On the downside of this trend line, you have this downside, you have this downside trend. So this is a little bit of a channel that you can see the NASDAQ has been trading in, and you can see that we are definitely getting close to the top of that channel. The last 2 times we got to the top of this channel, we definitely gave ourselves a little bit of a pullback. Now, if we look at this a little bit closer and we zoom in here, here are some of the things that I am looking at in the short term to see if the NASDAQ can pull back. So if we zoom in here a little bit closer, you guys are going to be looking at the last 3 candles on the NASDAQ, right? 1, 2, and 3. These are the last 3 daily candles on the NQ. You guys can see, you guys are not, you don't have to be a genius to know that these 3 candles here on the NASDAQ, the last 3 days, are definitely a little bit bearish. They are definitely a little bit weak. You can see the very heavy topping candles here over the last 3 days. That alone definitely proves to me that this market is definitely respecting the top of this trend. The upper side of this channel is clearly being respected. Look at the resistance that we are starting to see here at the top of this channel. So that is another thing that I am definitely keeping an eye out for. Next is here the extension over the 20 SMA that we have, which we already talked about on the weekly, but you are definitely starting to see the extension over the 20 SMA on the daily as well. On the daily chart, we are just about 2.5%, and this is where that 2.5% number comes from over the 20 SMA, which not only is a 20 SMA, but it also correlates perfectly to these previous structure points on the market, pretty close to that, right? So just about right here. And I believe at this point that if the market does pull back, I think we definitely could see some type of a pullback to this 20 SMA, to this previous structure point on the market, and that would be the healthy pullback that I am looking for, just about 2.5%, which would then set us up for a nice little consolidation and then another move higher back up to potentially the top of this channel once again, guys. So that's the daily chart analysis that I have for you. That is the channel that I'm going to show you here today. I'm showing you that the channel is starting to touch on the top. I'm showing you that we are about 2.5% over the 20 SMA. And you guys can clearly see that since over the last few days, you can clearly see that the market has definitely been on somewhat of a tear, right? So you've had some nice consolidation. You had a big break of that consolidation. You're starting to hit that resistance. And I think it is definitely healthy to see some type of a retest here around to 15,200 on the NQ, also matching the 20 SMA. And then that could set us up for 2 steps forward, and this would be our 1 step back. So that's my look here on the NASDAQ. That is the daily chart that I want to show you. I also want to reiterate that this could definitely continue higher. I could be totally wrong here, but at this point, this extension that I'm looking at, the last 3 days here on the NQ, the weakness of these last 3 candles definitely sort of gives me some insight that maybe we could see some downside. Quickly going back to the weekly chart for you guys, you can see this. You can see this channel once again. Right here, you guys can see this channel on the weekly chart. It's still there, very apparent. However, I personally, at this point, do not think that we will see a pullback to the 20 SMA on the weekly. That's about 7.5%. That's a little bit deeper. That's a little bit more serious. At this point, I am just looking for that daily chart pullback to this structure point, to the 20 SMA on the daily chart. Right around this 15.2, around 2.5%, right back to here. If things get a little bit more serious and the pullback gets a little bit more deep, then I would be looking at the 20 SMA on the weekly chart, which is right around 7%. Again, before we jump into the stocks that I believe will be most susceptible here, I want to say once again, I could be wrong. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% right, but if you're a subscriber to my channel, I feel it is my duty to at least share this information with you and make sure that you guys are educated here, and at least I can share with you some of the technical analysis that I am looking at. So with that said, now I want to go ahead and jump into 3 stocks that if we get this pullback that I'm talking about, I believe will be most susceptible to a pullback as well. All right, guys, so the first one I have for you, these are going to go pretty quick. I don't want to keep you here too long. The first one is the daily chart on NVIDIA. NVIDIA looks very similar to the NASDAQ, right? You have this previous structure point here on the market around 208. You have the 20 SMA as well here at 208. You can see NVIDIA has definitely started to stall here on the top around $230 a share. And if we get that 2.5% pullback, I think NVIDIA can pull back as well to the 20 SMA, back to this 208, which is about 6.5%. We can find support at this previous retest, and we can continue higher. So if the NASDAQ gives that daily chart pullback back to that 20 SMA, back to that structure point, about 2.5% on the NASDAQ, I think you get this pullback on NVIDIA, which is to around $210 to $208 a share. The next one I have for you is Microsoft. Microsoft looks identical as well. Microsoft has a previous structure point here on the market around 290. You do have a 20 SMA that's a little bit more extended. So if you get that pullback on the market, we do know that Microsoft is slightly stronger in general to these pullbacks. I think you either get a 20 SMA pullback or you get a pullback to the previous structure point here on the market at around $290 a share. You guys can see how these charts look awfully similar, right? You have structure, and then you have big breakout. So when you have a structure point and a big breakout, at times the market will want to retest that structure and turn it into support. So I want to see that happen. Pullback 290 on Microsoft, that retests the structure. NVIDIA, pullback to 208, that retests this structure. The final one that I have for you today is the one that has been going absolutely insane, and that is Netflix. You guys know I have been wrong about Netflix in the past, so I'm not going to, I feel like I shouldn't be bringing this up, but I will say this again. Netflix has definitely been pretty crazy, pretty straight up since its breakout here. This is about a 17% move. I believe that if we get a market pullback, Netflix should probably be susceptible as well, and maybe it does pull back to this previous structure. You can see that in the past we've had previous highs here around 565, and if it does pull back, if the market does pull back, then maybe this is a nice test of previous structure, and then you can find your bounce off this level. So those are the 3 stocks, guys. Again, just sharing with you some of my analysis. I hope you guys did enjoy that. So guys, that's about all that I have for you in today's video. Please comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I want to hear other people's thoughts. I want some collaboration. I want to know what you guys think about this video, about the potential of a pullback on the market. Is it healthy? Is it needed? Or do you think that we continue higher here and we avoid, we sort of ignore some of the signs that we have seen? Those topping candles on the daily, the extension over the 20 SMA, some of the weakness that we've seen on the top of that channel. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to see some of your comments down below. So please comment down below and let me know what you think. with this said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy me just sharing some of this analysis. Not a video to try to make you believe that I am right, just a video of collaboration, sharing, and hopefully helping you guys see what I am looking at. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, press that like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos, and make sure to press that bell notification so that you guys know every single time that I post. Peace.